Okay, I said in the last lesson that the mesh density here was a little bit high around these ankles and possibly on these forearms. And so what I'm going to do is just show you a technique for getting rid of these in Maya. So I'm going to go back to my low-res mesh and I am going to hit Go Z. Okay, so just loading up the tool now. And there we go, there's our character. So now I have to remember how to use Maya. So the main thing, I'm just going to hide my grid there. The main thing that I want to sort of focus on in this lesson, just sort of more or less as an example, is this section down here. So just going to come down here and I'm going to go to component mode and choose the edges or lines. And now you can see if we double click, we've got these lines here, and what we can do is if we go to I think it could be under polygons. Yes, I have delete selected vertices and edges. Now this is actually under your edit mesh menu, delete edge vertex. If we actually hit that, you can see that we go and take out not only those edges but the associated vertices that are sort of supporting those edges. Now you can see that we also have lost the our symmetry here. We don't have the sort of the same over there. So what I'm going to do is come back and I'm going to shift double click on this this edge here, and again just sort of do that, and you can see that we delete loops that way, so that makes it very easy. Now I'll just see if there is an area where we have a very specific problem. It looks like the one thing that ZBrush usually does, it didn't do this time. That's sometimes what it does is it actually spirals the these edge loops down the limb, which means that you try to select an edge loop and it selects everything right down to where the spiral stops, because it's all one loop. It's actually sort of a continuous line. It's like a record. It's like the groove of a record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a model that has got that sort of spiraling problem, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. Okay, so here we have a different character that I created in ZBrush, just using Dynamesh and then retopologizing with QRemesher. And as you can see, the polygon flow isn't too bad, but if we actually come down to, and I'll just select this area, actually come down to here and double click on one of these edge loops, you can see that the edge loop goes right the way around the character's leg, from the knee down to the ankle, and it wraps around the character like a bandage. So if we wanted to reduce our polygon count by coming in and deleting every second edge loop, or deleting an edge loop here and there, we wouldn't be able to do it with this sort of spiral edge looping that we've got from QRemesher. So how do we fix this up? Well, the easiest way that I've found is using what I call the zipper method. And the zipper method is where we actually close some of these quads down and sort of zip them up. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my point selection in the component mode, and just selecting these 2 points that on this diagonal, I'm going to merge those vertices. I'm then going to come down one, and just like sort of closing a zipper, I'm just going to stitch these two together. Now you'll notice that they are the opposite corners of these quads. And in fact, what I might do is I might start from here, because these quads are a lot narrower than these ones, and so we're less likely to notice it, and we'll have less work to do when it comes to the actual sort of relaxing of this topology. So again, just select the corner vertices, and just make sure I've got my heads up display here showing me that I'm actually selecting a vertice behind my mesh, on the other side of my mesh. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit and select that, and then we will merge vertices. Again, those opposite corners. I'm just going to hit the G key so that I can do this faster. Now, because we are going across the diagonal, we're actually fixing up this spiral that's going around our leg, and we're converting it back into concentric loops. And we just follow the zipper up. And I usually stop once I get to where the actual zipper would have started on the other side, or where the spiral starts on the other side. So coming up to here, and you can see that we have all quads still, because we have just sort of collapsed quads, and we haven't introduced any new cuts, which means that we still have the quads here, and you can see that the faces and triangles have sort of stayed more or less sort of in keeping with one another, so that we can see that they are in fact still all quads. So now if we come to the line selection, if we come in and double click on any of these, you can see that we actually do go right the way around our mesh in a single sort of continuous line. Now, wherever we did zip up our model, there will be a slight sort of bump. Now we can come in with Maya and sort of just sort of move this this point back into place if we wanted to, and do that manually. Sort of, in fact, if we went from here to here, okay, yeah, to here, we can in fact just sort of, you know, move it down, move it to the side a bit, and we can sort of, you know, we can fix this up in Maya. But what I recommend doing is just leave it as is, and then go back into ZBrush and fix it up with the just nudging it with the move tool when you're retopologizing with the appended Z-sphere, or you can use the relax deformation that you use normally sort of, for the QRemesher in order to get the polygons to sort of line up better. And you can see that because we zipped up from this where it started up to where it ended, if we wanted to, we could actually come in here and get rid of these here. And what I'll actually do is I will can I merge that? No, I'll select that line and I'll use the collapse tool. Hang on. That would create triangles there. So at any rate, there would be a way to sort of to fix up these quads here in order to sort of have these quads actually flowing down the leg and up the leg. Just have to delete out this line and fix up these sorts of triangles here. But for the most part, because we've got this sort of bulge at the top of the calf and this sort of indentation at the bottom of the knee, I wouldn't even worry about it. I think that that's perfectly acceptable geometry. But if you are sort of finding that it ends like that, you can fix it up to have more of a flow there. So yeah, and of course, the actual reason that we did this is that we can come in here and simply delete out the additional sort of edge loops that we have, either using sort of a shelf button if you've created one, or coming down to delete edge vertex. And so there you go. That's how you convert the spirally sort of edge loop that you can get from QRemesher into concentric edge loops in order to be able to use them a little bit better. So next we'll come back and we'll have a look at the modifications that we've made to our base mesh that we're going to apply for our retopologizing of our mesh. So just coming back now to our original mesh, you can see that I've done a bit of work on it. I've removed some of the edge loops here to sort of lighten up this mesh a little bit. I've also done the same here. I've introduced a loop around the knee, one around the elbow. These will be sort of relaxed out in ZBrush in order to get it to sort of space out a little bit better. Also one here at the shoulder, which we're going to sort of move up in order to sort of give us more sort of more of a smoothing sort of area. You can also see that I have cut out the face because I want to do that all manually using the Z-sphere method. And I've also brought up some of the collapsed geometry that were in the horns. And here it was just sort of too chaotic and random, and so I just deleted out a section there. And this we can actually go into ZBrush and sort of draw that out manually. I've also deleted, I think, the tips of this horn here, which we will, again, with the Z tool, with the Z-sphere method, draw in a little bit better. And if I go to the component mode, what I could do, just sort of thinking on the fly here, is just see, got just select this edge here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 around that side, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that side. So we might be able to actually create a nice sort of bridge here in Maya if I can remember how to do it. So we select these edges, and what I'll do is I'll select the top ones, seem to line up maybe a bit better. And if we go into Edit Mesh and let's see, we'll go to Bridge. Okay. Just see. Okay, divisions, I'll make it something like 4. Let's see, how does that look? That's alright. Let's do it with this side. Okay, that is passable. Now you can see that we've got quite a bit of a sort of a kink in that. But that's something that we can fix up back in ZBrush. And because we've got that geometry in there, we don't have to sort of mess around and fiddle about too much with the getting the drawing it out with our Z-sphere method. I think I might have put a little bit too many divisions in there, so I'm just going to come in and, what do you reckon, that one? Or this one, and delete that. There we go. Because we don't want to introduce too much geometry into that. So yeah, we can come in and we can sort of, using our move mode in our Z-sphere appended retopology, that's a mouthful, we can sort of fix that up. And we can also use relax and those sorts of things. And so you can see I've also cut off the fingers, the thumb, the toes. I've made a hole for that sort of little dew claw there in the mesh. And it sort of looks like a big bunny suit. Maybe sort of something Max would wear in Where the Wild Things Are. And so let's bring this back to ZBrush. Okay, go with that. Okay, so how does it look when we get back in here? Now I've got to remember how to use ZBrush. My brain just doesn't like changing between programs. So you can see that we've got all of our changes there, and we can use this now as the base for our Z-sphere appended tool. So with the Z-sphere selected, I'm going to try and, if we come down to topology, we'll take off edit topology, and let's see, I might just in case, I'm just going to hide that Z-sphere. I'm going to append another one. So hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Where were we? Yes, we'll append another z-sphere. So if we come up and I think that'll work. Yep. Okay, and again we need to place the z-sphere. So scale it up. Make sure you have your symmetry on. Now I'm going to make sure that I place this in a different position to the other z-sphere. And again, I'm just going to turn on transparency just so I can see where I put it. There we go. So we'll put it up there, just so that I don't sort of get confused with this guy here that's got the mesh attached to it. Okay, so now if we come down to our topology, go back to draw, select topo, and we'll go with low res UDK dude. You can see that we have this new sort of character mesh here. Go to edit topology, and if we come up and have a look at the horns, you can see that it's not sort of lining up perfectly. That's where we can come in with our move brush or move tool, and all you need to do is really sort of nudge these points and they will pop up onto the surface of our mesh like so, and then just sort of make sure that you have it all line up. Oops. And here especially, you can see that if we drag this about a bit, that it will actually re-stick to our mesh. And you can see that this is a lot easier, having sort of created this geometry with our bridging tool, rather than having to come in here and draw all of these points out. And still a little bit fiddly work. Making sure that you get all of those things in. But really you only need to sort of get it sort of fairly close to our mesh, and then we will come in and we will project onto the mesh, and that will make it line up close to perfectly. Like here, for example, we've got some definite bulging there that we can probably come in, and I'll try it with a larger draw size. No, it is still only 1 point at a time. But yeah, you can come in with relax and make sure that the things line up a little bit better. And where it sort of has some of this webbing, you might have to introduce a little bit more geometry. And now we can actually go in and draw out new geometry for our face. And build up new topology in that way. So yeah, thanks for watching.